Hi, everybody. This is Tom Davis again, the Director of Recruiting for Student Athlete World, and doing my series of interviews, talking about programs, recruiting, and some different sports. And I am so happy today to have Joe Abraham, the head coach of Toledo Softball, on with us, and he's agreed to put in his insights into some various aspects that we're going to cover. And I am going to turn it over now to Joe. Joe, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. On break now. What is today? I don't even know what today is. 17th? I have no idea.
15th, big guy.
Is it? Okay. But I'm doing well. On break here and kind of a quiet time. All of our players, of course, they're all at home and finals are long since over. And, just on break now. If there is any time that's a little bit of a downtime for us, it's kind of December, especially mid-December, for a few weeks.
Absolutely. Just gonna, want you to introduce yourself, give a little bit of your resume, bio, background, so people can, have your information and where you've come from to where you are now at Toledo in the coaching ranks.
Well, let's see. My bio. Man, the question is how far back to go. Like once you go back to high school days, I can barely remember it. I think I went to high school. I played ball and ran the school football pool and messed around and had fun. And that was pretty much it for high school. Pretty much the same for college. I didn't play baseball in college, but when you get, I guess, to the relevant bio, I went to Ohio State during the 1980s. Spent the decade there, and eventually they let me out. I think I still have the degree somewhere. And they gave me a degree in journalism, political science. I did that for about 4 years. I was a newspaper reporter and a sports editor at a daily paper here in Ohio. And then I went to law school. That even seems like a lifetime ago. Not sure what prompted me to do that, but I went to law school and practiced law here in Columbus from about 1996 to 2008, something like that. And during that time, I got involved in coaching softball, kind of on a lark. I was helping coach a middle school basketball team, and the other coach of the other team we were playing, came up at the end of the game and said to me and the person who was the head coach of the team, "Hey, are you guys softball, baseball people at all? We could really use a coach for a 14 and under team this summer." And I was at the time I think I just took the bar exam, and at least back then it took quite a while to get the results. So I had some free time. So I coached a 14 and under team in Worthington, Ohio, a suburb of Columbus, that summer, and enjoyed it and did it again the next summer. And I was that kind of turned into a travel team, and I was coaching high school ball and few years after that, and the travel team turned into a travel organization and did all that for about 12 years. And then while I was practicing law, and then finally with Mike Larrabee, who's now assistant coach at Maryland, a couple other college coaches, said, you do this all the time. You ever think about this coaching in college, which I had just begun to think about. Applied for a couple jobs and got one, and at Whitworth University in Spokane, a D3. That was in 2008, and been doing this ever since. So my last day, what I call of real work, was June 16th, 2008, when I represented two of my travel ball players who were about 16 or 17 at the time in juvenile traffic court. And I told them both that day, we're not going to trial because I'm on the road for Spokane tomorrow, or whatever it was. And this isn't going to any trial, so I'm going to be your lawyer. We're settling here, and pretty much all the cases settle anyway. But that was it. And ever since then, for the 12 and a half years since then, I've been coaching college softball and having fun, and doing this.
I'll tell you what, it's sounds like you've had a good time and touched on many things and many different lives in different aspects. Um, Going to ask you now, Coach. You know you're coaching at Toledo, and I just want you to give a plug. Tell us about Toledo. Tell us about the school, the area, and everything, and what they have to offer to kids.
Yeah, sure. As you probably know, I'm Tom. Toledo's in the MAC, the Mid-American Conference, MACtion. You can see us play football on Tuesday, Wednesday nights on ESPN throughout the fall and in winter. The ESPN guys and all the college football guys, they love the MAC. It just seems to produce like crazy plays and crazy games and all that. So we kind of have that reputation.
Well,
And
not to cut you off, but I
yeah,
mean the Steelers are starting to love their players. They take a lot of people out of the MAC.
yeah, I know. When Steelers played Buffalo the other night, I think there were 4 or 5 UT guys who lined up together for a picture after the game.
That's
And,
cool.
and of course, the Browns have Kareem Hunt. So, yeah, Toledo's got, I don't know exactly how many, but quite a few guys in the NFL. And our basketball teams, men's and women's basketball teams, are both doing really well right now. But Toledo's a kind of mid to large size school, and right in the city of Toledo, which I believe is the 4th biggest city in Ohio after my hometown of Columbus, Cleveland, and Cincinnati. I think that's right. I don't think Dayton or Akron or Canton are bigger than Toledo. Somebody will let me know if I'm wrong there. But it's a beautiful campus. The architecture, like on a lot of campuses, is designed to integrate. I don't know anything about architecture, but that's what I hear. And it's in there's a decent number of commuters, but also tons of dorms. Of course, all of our players, or pretty much all of our underclassmen, live in dorms. Uh, Academically, it's excellent. Probably, I'd have to add it up. At least half, if not 2/3, of our team is majoring in the hard sciences. It might be pre-med, exercise science, something in that medical field,
Yep.
biochem, whatever. And then we're also really good in engineering and business. 3 of our players are in the engineering school, which is excellent at Toledo, and business is really good too. So most of our players are in those 3 areas. I think we have 1 in education and, scattered one here and there in different things. But it, like all the schools in the MAC, we're a conference with mostly Michigan and Ohio, all state schools. And then we've got Buffalo and Northern Illinois, and then Ball State just over in Indiana. But it's all state schools, and it's all pretty condensed here in the Midwest, and it's a great conference to be in. So it's been great for me. And like I said, my hometown's Columbus, just 2 hours southeast of Toledo. And I'm in my 3rd year now. I've been at Toledo for 2.5 years and love it, and it's going great. And pretty much, I think all of our players love UT and love being Rockets.
That's fantastic. I like your personality and how you go about things and doing your plugs and talking about different aspects. Want to get into recruiting now, Coach, and it's a lot of what my people will be watching for is to hear different insights and from different coaches and everything. I was talking to you. I would actually love for you to start when you identify somebody as a potential player at Toledo, and just the process. We have a recruiting process for the player, and there's a recruiting process that goes through for coaches and schools. And just take a little bit of time and talk about identifying a player and the process that you go through with them, and also the process that you'd like to see reciprocating. Sorry about that. reciprocating back to you from the player.
Well, yeah, Tom, the process can start, usually it's more often than not, it probably starts with an email from the prospect. We, like all college coaches, we get tons of them, and we read through each one, of course. And I'm sure I'm not telling you or probably most of your viewers anything they don't already know, but the more specific and personalized it is, the better. If we get an email, hi, hello, coach, and it's, you can just see the boilerplate, below that. There's nothing specific to Toledo in there, except maybe where they've copied and pasted the word Toledo, above whatever other school. And it's not, if it's somebody from 12 states away, I'll at least quickly glance through the email, but that email's probably, that's going to get deleted, and so much for that. So the emails that are more specific to us, are obviously better, but it usually starts with something like that. Not always. It might start with a call from a travel coach or high school coach or somebody like yourself. I mean, it could start in any fashion. Just usually it's an email from the girl. And then in normal times, we'll go out and watch the player play. I won't be sitting here where I am right now, with 2 laptops and an iPad trying to watch 3 games, none of which I can really tell much from. But play, and if it looks good, we keep watching them, and their resume or profile, I mean, that plays a role. If we get an email from, say, a high school sophomore, and well, I was the big school player of the state in my state last year, and I was 27-0 in the circle, with 212 innings and 600 strikeouts. Okay, we better go watch that girl, But obviously, most of the time, that's not the case. So we have to kind of figure out where are we most likely to get our players, and at what tournaments, because there's no way for us to watch everybody who emails us. And what we've done is we've kind of prioritized, like most MAC schools, I think, our general area, which for us is roughly, I mean, it goes beyond this, but for the most part, take Pittsburgh, Western PA there, all the way through Ohio, all the way through, Toledo's up near Michigan. We're basically on the border of Ohio, Michigan. So Ohio, Michigan, Western PA, Indiana, certainly Indianapolis east of Indianapolis and east of that, certainly. Up to Chicago, even Northwest Indiana, up through Chicago, and even into Wisconsin. That's our general recruiting area, from where we have almost all of our players. I'm not saying we won't take, California, Kansas, Washington, whatever. We'll take a girl from wherever, but it's just impossible to get out and watch everybody. And you have limited resources, especially now, with budgets being cut and all that. We can't get out and recruit right now anyway, but even if we could, all right, are we going to be able to fly out to Huntington Beach? And if so, are we going to be able to do it 2 or 3 times? Is our recruiting money going to be best spent there? Or going to, whatever it is here in Ohio, Michigan, or even a drive away, maybe the J.O. Cup in South Carolina, whatever it might be. And oddly enough, when I was at Hillsdale, D2 in Michigan, I actually traveled across the country more there to recruit than I do at Toledo, but just because of the nature of the schools. Hillsdale is a school that gets a lot of people from all over the country, real high academic, real specialized in what it teaches, as to where Toledo is more of a general, education type or academic type college. And for the most part, we can find everything we need in those areas I described.
Yep. That's yeah, it sounds good. And I like what you're saying about your areas, and then going, a little bit out of them, and looking at prospects, and how you talk about, because I talk to my kids all the time, you want to make a great first impression. So you know what? Yeah, don't throw cookie cutter emails out there. You want to engage and learn how to engage with coaches and everything, because you want to establish a relationship with them, and there's different niches and everything like that. But when I coached a year of Division III softball. Interesting story. We won't get into it here, but at Chatham University, and I had actually for the next year had an awesome recruiting class coming in. But I actually went up to Canada because it was such an untapped resource. So my one trip in that my budget got me, aside from around in Western Pennsylvania and Ohio, and that was I went up to Canada. But talking a little bit, identifying kids. How young is it that you will start to look at them and project them out as a possible player for Toledo?
Oh man. Well, since there are a lot of players coming in between ninth and 10th grade who play 14 and under, we're certainly watching them at that point. And then, I mean, you can't help it. You're also seeing girls a year younger than that, maybe even two. So I would say realistically between 8th and ninth grade. Now, we're not, we might, I would say at that point, we're watching somebody and like, oh, okay, this girl's pretty doggone good. We need to, and maybe she's come to a camp or two of ours. And then between ninth and 10th grade, all right, now it's like we still can't talk to them or communicate
Mm-hmm.
with them, but we have a pretty good idea at that point of how interested we are in somebody once we've watched them enough. And then if they wait until between 10th and 11th grade to contact us and get on and come to our camps and get on our radar, it's not too late, but it better happen then, because in that fall of the junior year is when everything happens. So if we don't see them until just the summer right before that, everything better work out. We better be at the right tournaments and vice versa, and all that, because it's late at that point. So ideally for us, we are watching them in between ninth and 10th grade, and if it's a year earlier, even better. And they've come, to a couple of our camps. And now that the NCAA has shut down all of our camps for, it's almost a year now. I'm if we ever are permitted to do camps again, I hope girls get.
I feel for you guys. I know it's been as hard on you guys as it is on the kids, because I know that the importance in it, and like you were saying, the camps and getting out there is a big thing for you. And it's hampered everybody. And I had to cut you off there, but
That's all
I'll
right.
finish.
No, that's fine. Yeah, losing the camps, at least for us, that's, I don't know exactly, but that's probably 75 to 80% of our fundraising efforts. So it's just destroyed us, in addition to budget cuts that we, and I'm sure everybody else has taken this year. So you add the loss of the camps on top of that, and it's a killer. And also, what maybe a lot of people don't realize, even at the D1 level, certainly the mid-major level, our assistant coaches, they don't make anywhere near the money that you would think somebody with a bachelor's, and in most cases a master's, or an advanced degree would earn. So they rely on these camps, and we can't work camps either, for the most part, and unless it's real young kids. So all these Division I assistant coaches and head coaches too, I guess, if they did, between the camps that we hold and maybe pay them, or the camps they go work, I mean, they may have lost anywhere between $5,000 and $25,000, which is a huge supplement to their income, and it's just gone. And so, in addition to us not being able to fundraise for our program and making it more difficult to evaluate players for recruiting, you've got that aspect of it too. So that, I was down earlier today at Home Depot, and I'm looking outside the window, and there's cars up and down, and life's going on pretty much, other than people in masks. Life is pretty much in restaurants, being kind of shut down. Life's going on. People are working, and, I'm looking at the TV. There's college basketball being played, and people, sweaty bodies rubbing up against each other in college basketball. And yet we can't have camps. It's completely beyond me. And anybody who I'm friends with or follows me online probably knows my thoughts about that. But now there's a vaccine now, so anyway.
We will move on. And you know what? And you brought up some great points that I'm sure, that I talk to my clients about, and the levels and how everything goes. And I want to go into a little bit now of the actual softball wise at Toledo. Want to hear Coach Abraham softball philosophy, what you try to do, and everything, and actually talk about before we get into that. Skill set is one thing, as well as I do, and I talk to kids about all the time, and I know you do. Academics and character, Coach. How much of a part do they play in the recruiting before we get into the actual softball philosophy part of it?
Well, I think for most programs, you can't overstate the role that academics, character, attitude, all of that play. Certainly for us, it's the case. Our team, even though we have most of our team in those hard sciences and tough majors, our team gets really good grades. We had I forget exactly, I think a 3.8, give or take, 379, 381, somewhere in there over the last school year. And our grades just came out for this year, and we're missing like 2 grades. So we haven't added it up, but it's right there in that same area. And for me personally, not always, but usually the girls who do get the really good grades, they're the ones that cause the fewest problems. So, and I don't want to, I just don't have, it's not really the patience, that I don't have the desire anymore to deal with student athletes who aren't interested in the student part of it, who are just I'm just here to play softball and I'll get a degree. I talked earlier in this, I was at Ohio State throughout the 1980s. So I guess it's hypocritical because that was me back in the day, but now I know better. And
you've learned. You've
yeah,
learned.
Yeah, I've learned. I mean, if I had to do it again, I'm sure I'd get through in 4 years. But at 18 years old, I didn't know that. But I find that, especially after spending 7 years at Hillsdale, where the average ACT was like a 31, which is sky high, and coaching those girls for that long, I find that typically, not always, but typically, I deal better with that type of really serious student athlete who's mature and takes all that stuff seriously. So that just fits me and my personality and my style a lot better. And then the character part, I mean, that goes hand in hand with it. I told you I was in college throughout the 80s. So that gives you some idea of how old I am. So I've reached the age in my 50s, and I didn't get out of practicing law and doing this to not enjoy myself. So anything that's going to get in the way of me having fun and enjoying myself, I try to eliminate. You can't eliminate everything, but it's really just that simple. I'm doing this because I enjoy it. Hopefully I can be a good coach for our student athletes and help the girls with their futures. But not just me and my fun and enjoyment, but the whole team. So the things that we emphasize, we start off with what we don't want, what we try to avoid. And that's drama, a sense of entitlement, and then just other general nonsense, which could include, a bunch of partying or, whatever else, just nonsense. So if we can recruit girls and stay away from drama, entitlement, and just nonsense, we've gone quite a bit of the way to getting the girls that we want. And we obviously want good ball players, good students, but specifically, I'm kind of looking for friendly, mature. They could be an introvert or extroverted. Either way, there is fine. But friendly, mature, self-aware, grateful. But what coaches don't want all that? but
Yep.
we're very specifically looking for it. And if I get a sense during the recruiting process that something's not there, it's not happening.
Great points. Talking about going out and seeing, I I heard I watched your rant about some live stream stuff and how it's different. You only get to see some things. For me, coaching in college and the things that I do now and talking to my clients and my players that play for me. You know, I always stress a point that something. Guys are here and they're here to watch you because that they know that you can play. And I always say the point is, you know what? They're actually here to see you fail and see how you handle adversity. Or are you going to be that person that, you know, throws the helmet, argues with the umpire, does stuff like this? Or hey, that's part of the game. I didn't do it, had to be done at that time, move on, be positive and everything like that. I mean, it's just got to be hard without seeing that aspect and all that of, you know, to bring in people and everything. And I know that you guys are hampered, but I mean, you make some great points and it's stuff that I stress to everybody I talk to about it, wanting to go and play at the next level. Little bit getting into the softball thing. Basically, hey, what's your philosophy? I mean, I know you have a foundation and you'll build off of it, but tell me about your what you guys all try to accomplish at Toledo.
Well, philosophically, as far as the game itself is concerned, I like to start at the end. All right, what is it we're trying to accomplish? Well, that's obvious. We're trying to win games and kind of work backward from there. So what helps us win games? And then we try to look into that and we keep working backwards from there. So where we wind up, and I think it's a little different than a lot of other college programs, as far as I can tell at least. We emphasize pitching, hitting, fielding, base running, throwing, all that stuff, but also playing smart, game strategy, all the things that at least we think help us win games. So what don't we emphasize? And I'm not saying we don't do this stuff or we tell anybody not to do it, but what we try, you can't emphasize everything. There's not enough time in the day to emphasize everything. And it kind of confuses. If you do try to emphasize everything, it automatically de-emphasizes the things you think are most important. So what don't we emphasize? Well, we don't really emphasize cheering. That's fine. They can cheer, but like organized cheers, we're not spending any time on organized cheers. We don't emphasize, I don't want to say we don't emphasize conditioning because our strength and conditioning coach, we do that normally like any other program. We're not doing conditioning during softball practice other than, base running drills and stuff that comes naturally during softball practice. If that type of conditioning, yes, but we're not out running around in the outfield during our softball practice. So we're not running 2 miles or I keep getting texts on I don't know if you can hear that or not. If so, I apologize. I need I need to tell my friends stop texting or me figure out how to stop that noise. But anyway, we don't, a lot of those things, at least we hear about, well, we got to, and it's fine. Everybody, you can win in a lot of different fashions. I'm just saying what works for us. All right. So our players get there in the fall and I understand, all right, they got to run a 2 mile on this and, keeping them accountable in the summer. I get the reasons why. But again, that doesn't really work for me. We prefer to have girls that are more mature and who want to do those things. And we don't want to have to, all right, we're going to have a 2 mile test and all that. I don't care. I tell them if they make the bases, or just take a mile. If they make the bases a mile apart, then we'll worry about your mile time. Until they do that, We'll deal with 60 feet, 120 feet. Anyway, so philosophically, the players who play in our program, they know what we emphasize. They know that we heavily emphasize trying to play smart, understanding game situations in quite a bit of detail. And any player who doesn't like that, they know Toledo's, before they ever commit to Toledo, they know it's not going to work for them. So that's just a snapshot of it. That with the recruiting piece we talked about earlier, one thing that's kind of tough for me, all of us, I don't care who it is, all the way up to top few programs in the country, we're all recruiting really unscientifically. I mean, we're all just out eyeballing it. And because there's not a lot of stats you can rely upon, and we don't have, we're limited in the number of, the only people who can really go out and recruit are the paid coaches, which is 3 or whatever it is. So we're limited in how we can recruit, and it's just totally an unscientific thing. So that makes it tough, and it leads to a lot of, I don't want to say mistakes in recruiting, but getting it wrong as far as talent level. And I don't know, and then you add the video, that all that we're allowed to do now is video. That makes it even tougher. But anyway, as far as what else we emphasize, I mean, it's those things. It's getting good grades, staying out of trouble. You could ask our NCAA compliance director, our scholarship and housing person in the athletic department, and I can promise they'll tell you, oh, yep, softball's totally, if we send something out, softball's the first one to get back to us. Softball's the easiest team to work with. So all those type of things we emphasize, things that will make them successful later in life. And that's, some of that stuff's a little different. I mean, we get into some of the analytics with our players. I know a lot of programs don't, the coaches will do it, but not the players. We get into it with the players. We don't want to overwhelm them with it, but we show them what we're thinking about and why, and that type of thing. And we go into a lot of detail with game strategy. So that's some things, I guess.
Awesome. I enjoyed that, and I'm sure everybody will. Want to talk a little bit about the importance, just from from your opinion and how you look at it, Joe. High school teams and travel teams, the coaches and all that, and the importance of both. If you could you just touch on that? There's so much being made now about the importance of travel teams and high school teams. I just would like to have you share the importance of both and how they work in it with you as far as communication.
Well, they're both important. Of course, we, like any college program, do most of our watching in travel ball because, I mean, that's natural. During the high school season, we're playing. So it makes it very difficult to get out to high school games. In the Toledo area, or within an hour or so of the Toledo area, if there are high school games going on, say on a Monday, which is usually an off day for us, we'll go out and watch. So we do see some high school games, but it's tough. But still, the high school coaches, we talk to them regularly, just like we do travel ball coaches, of course. And some of the high school coaches are involved and want to be involved in the recruiting process, and others not so much. And I guess that's the same in travel ball as well. But we do, since we do most of our watching of travel, it's probably 98% of our watching is travel ball. We do tend to get to know the travel ball coaches better because you just can't help it. But I coached both back in the day. I coached high school and travel ball for 10 to 12 years each. So I have respect for both. And, the high school coaches are probably, not always, but possibly going to know the player a little bit better because they're spending every day with them, from maybe February through May or, whatever it might be. As toward the travel ball coaches, every weekend. And then if they practice in the, maybe once a week there. And it's also two different perspectives. The high school coach has the player, and just in a different situation than the travel ball coach. And so we want to get both perspectives there. It, it I think travel ball, high school. I mean, I think the private coaches, I think they do a really good job overall with the mechanics of the game. Yeah, hitting, pitching, whatever. The game, and I don't blame them for this because time is limited. But the part that I think gets I don't know, overlooked or maybe ignored, whatever, is just that whole strategic part of the game. I find that the girls come to us really good mechanically, much more so now than 10 years ago or back when I was coaching travel ball. I think they're mechanically much more sound and just physically better players in better shape. I mean, all the private pitching coaches, hitting coaches, travel ball organizations that practice a lot more now, high school. I mean, so that's a lot better. Just again, that whole game strategy, game knowledge element is mostly missing with girls. I mean, they're great players and pretty much clueless when it comes to game strategy. I have high expectations there, so I hate to make it sound so bad, but it just is.
Yeah, having that softball or baseball IQ, that knowledge of the game, and it's funny. I mean, with our Rawlings organization, and the one thing that I've always done, especially in high school and looked for it in college, is, hey, I want players that know the game, know situations, know the intricacies of the game and everything. you, when you say that, I was telling Coach Chester, he's a baseball coach at Gardner Webb, and was like, one of my best friends. He's a minor league hitting instructor for the St. Louis Cardinals, and went to a baseball convention and was listening to him do a presentation on hitting and approach to hitting. And he's like, he said it's so much different. He said now, um, he said, 85% of these kids that come in to the low minors, and he works with them and all that, and he'll be like, okay, what's your approach to hitting and stuff like that? And he said, you see blank stares, and he said they have no approach to it. So, they're teaching it up at that level and all that. And, we talk, I like to cover it, and it's like you said, that knowledge of the game. I mean, it's so important. And that question that I have for you, for your thoughts, travel ball now. There's so many arguments and everything. It used to be when you and I are '80s guys, believe me. And if you played in an elite thing, I mean, we played American Legion, Colt League, Pony, everything like that. In Pittsburgh, we had a Fed League that was college players and ex-minor leaguers, which was very, very good. But all the travel ball and the takeoff and everything of it. Do you think that it's gotten watered down? If you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah, of course, back 10, 15, even 20 years ago, everybody said that too. So everybody always says it's watered down. Now, I don't know what the actual numbers reveal. The numbers are whatever they are. And it does seem like there's probably more teams out there than there were in the past, I would guess. And if there are more teams, there's, more the talents being distributed, more thinly, I guess, across the teams, which would make it watered down. But at the same time, I'm not sure if most of the better talent still congregates on a handful of teams in any particular state, then those teams might not necessarily be watered down. So I think maybe a little bit watered down. In my opinion, not nearly as much as everybody, online, whatever forum or Facebook, Twitter, whatever. I don't think nearly as much as everybody says. And for me, I don't see it as a big issue, not nearly as big of an issue as a lot of people see it to be. And everybody always, whether it's parents of travel ball players or even coaches of teams, everybody, all right, it's too watered down. All right, well, maybe if it's less watered down, you're going to be the one on the ounce. Then
Yeah.
nobody ever expects it to be themselves. If Division I college softball, if it were less watered down and half the programs went away, I might be out of a job. So when we talk about watered down, everybody always assumes that they stay up here and let's get rid of this riffraff, and that's not a safe assumption. Anyway, no, I mean even if it is watered down, the tournaments we attend, by and large, the teams are good, the players are good. Yeah, occasionally you'll get games that are run rolls or that maybe a team occasionally doesn't belong there. But I think most teams and players find their level, certainly by 16 and under, if not 14 and under, and they're at the appropriate level. And therefore, take a 16 and under team where there's just pretty much no chance that any of the players are going to Division I or even II. That's a team we're highly unlikely to run into out on our recruiting trail. I think most of it works out. Now, I'm kind of a free market type of guy, so I don't like to see, a lot of regulations and a lot of people telling others you don't belong here. And, I prefer to kind of just everybody do your own thing. And I think for the most part, it works out.
Cool insights. Cool insights. Just going to finish up, Coach. Something that that I know that you'll have some good information on, and D1 level where you are, and you're going through the COVID stuff and everything, and just the adaptations that you guys have had to make. And stuff like that, and dealing with it from the NCAA, and also, some stuff that probably Toledo has put down for you and all that. Just talk a little bit about, what it's meant to your softball program in general.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, we at Toledo in the MAC, like everybody else, we have our not guidelines, but requirements that we have to follow, and we do. And those are ever changing, not necessarily at Toledo, but just in the country in general. I was just on a call with one of the places we're going to play this spring yesterday or the day before about what that particular location is doing, basically making it a bubble for the time that the teams are there. So that those guidelines or regulations, they've all been challenging. For the most part this fall, we got in somewhat of a normal fall. We got almost all of our practices in. Of course, we were missing players 10 days here and 14 days there. And that happened all throughout the fall. But for the most part, we got our stuff in. We couldn't play other teams. That was the case, I think, with everybody. Played a lot of inter squads, had pretty much our regular practices. So that wasn't bad. And then a lot of scheduling adjustments. Just yesterday, the Mid-American Conference, I think, finalized our conference schedule for this spring. We're going to, normally we'd play 21 or 24 conference games. This year we're going to play 40, which greatly reduces our non-conference schedule. And that's obviously a concession to COVID and the budget cuts that have come with it. So it's, on one hand, we've gotten through it, and we missed half of, we missed our entire conference season last year. At the same time, I won't lie. I mean, it's been a royal pain and continues to be. And I think we're going to get in our conference season and hopefully non-conference this year. Again, I mentioned earlier, you sit and watch football and basketball being played. Not quite sure, and that's during the spike in the last couple months. Not sure how those can be played during the height of the numbers of this thing. And then now there's a vaccine and we can't play in the spring. That would be pretty curious. So I think we're going to have a season. And I don't know. I have my thoughts on it.
If you could give a message, I mean, how do you handle it with your players? Your message to your players, because I know, as well as I do, they're young, and you always talk about, let's control the things that we can control and everything like that. How have they adapted to it?
They've done pretty good with it. They hate online classes as opposed to in person. And I don't know exactly, but I'd guess we're probably 60, 65, 70% online. They hate that, but they've adapted to it. One thing, they're real strict about the masks and all that. And I asked them, and it varies. I mean, everybody's different, but for the most part, they're strict about the masks and all that because they don't want to quarantine. A lot of them have had to quarantine and they don't want to go through it again. Yeah, they know that they individually are virtually no risk, even if they get COVID. And they realize they don't want to give it to grandparents and all that. But the reason they're strict about it and the social distancing is they don't want to quarantine. And they've been dealing, they've lost a half a season. And now, I mean, we're getting close to a year. And if this thing goes on and affects our season this year, it already has, that's 2 of their 4 seasons during their career, or 5, whatever, that have been greatly affected by it. And the lack of the inability to socialize like normal, that's affected them. So they put on a brave face, but at the same time, they hate it. And I don't blame them. I hate it too. And I want to know, now that we got a vaccine, I want to know, it's been almost, are we on day 13 now of the 15? Or is it day 310? Or I forget. But, I'm not saying it's not real and serious. I know it is. At the same time, I'm not going to live like this forever.
Absolutely. I hear you. Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on and taking the time to talk with me today, and you're going to talk to many people out there, get this converted and published and all that. And just wish you guys all the best out there. And we run into each other on social media and everything like that. And like I said, I have a couple players coming up in 22, 23 class, and I think I've sent you some of them already. But anything that I can ever do for you, you know how to get a hold of me quick. And just wish you guys all the best, and appreciate you coming on to share your story, Toledo, and insights into the game and recruiting. So thank you very much, and wishing you, your players, staff, everybody there and family a great Christmas. And pretty soon you'll be getting started.
Yeah, I can't wait. Well, thanks, Tom, for having me on. And you have a great Christmas and holidays too. And let's hope we get through this and get that vaccine out to everybody, or everybody who wants to take it. Either way, and we can get back to normal.
I hear you. Well, take care and enjoy the rest of your day, Coach.
Thanks. You too, Tom. Take care.